Well, hello. Welcome back to another exciting edition of Coffee with Stephen. So, this week's blog is entitled Jacques Cousteau. And there's a very specific reason for it that has absolutely nothing to do with the famous marine biologist. Over the last few months, we have been watching America coming apart as it seems. And, it's been interesting because a lot of citizen journalists, you don't really see this from the mainstream media per se, but a lot of citizen journalists have taken it upon themselves to at least attempt to interview some of the people that have been protesting. And some of them have relatively lucid, arguments about the systemic racism that potentially exists within the United States and everything else. But the vast majority of the people that we see are basically rioting for the sense of rioting. Alternatively, they have formed themselves into some sort of amorphous group that has absolutely no political philosophy that it is necessarily hinged to. The very notion of Antifa is itself an oxymoron, since what they are fundamentally looking for is extreme state control. In fact, I would argue that they actually elevate the state to a religious status, which is the very definition of a fascist. So, by definition here, Antifa are actually fascists that are protesting because apparently there's simply too much freedom that exists in the world. In any event, if they had a coherent message, even one that I'm antithetically opposed to, I would have a little bit more respect for them. The fact of the matter is we don't see that. So the beginning of the blog is a discussion on political philosophy, and a number of you have asked me how my political philosophy has developed over the years. Many of you misinterpret my position as being conservative, and I don't consider myself a conservative, actually far from it. I consider myself to be a classical liberal, which in modern parlance would probably suggest that I'm probably the closest to a modern-day libertarian. That all notwithstanding, I think it bears discussion on how I achieved this place in my world, and for that we have to look at a book that was written about Jacques Cousteau. And the book itself, like I said, is completely immaterial. It's the story behind the book and how the state got involved when I was a very young boy. I was in, I believe, 5th grade at the time. And I was accused of stealing this book. Now, it later turned out that I did nothing of the sort, but there was a tremendous, interaction between the state and my family as a result of this, effectively a false accusation that I had engaged in a theft. And it started the seeds of a political philosophy that has been fundamentally opposed against tyranny from the very beginning. So I highly encourage you to read the blog. You'll learn a little bit about me, kind of how I got to where I am. But, and hopefully you enjoy it. As always, you can access the blog directly by going to artemishq.com and simply clicking on the blog. The actual blog itself will be posted on Wednesday, and Wednesday morning. And as always, train constantly, train consistently, train repetitively, and train with purpose. Above all else, stay safe.